All right, thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. It's always good to be able to share, talk ball, and this is one of the things that's made this whole ordeal that much more palatable and really, I mean, educational. I mean, I've learned a ton of stuff just watching everybody else talk. So I'm going to talk about 4-3 defense, dealing with Tampa coverage, cover three. It's something that I dabbled with my first couple of years working as a coordinator, and then I got immersed in it at University of Buffalo, where our D coordinator was a guy that came over from the Lions who had worked under Rod Marinelli. And one of the things I was charged with doing was drawing up the playbook. He would draw it by hand and I'd draw it on computer. And that really helped me kind of learn the nuances of, what the defense was. So really it's this Monty Kiffin style defense, Pete Carroll and everybody's kind of gone through, especially in the earlier 2000s, 4-3 based. I've run this package 4 different seasons as a D coordinator, and the things that really kind of stood out for me was we created a lot of turnovers in that, and a lot of it was keeping everything in front, guys rallying it, first man tackle, second man strip, third man recover, that kind of deal. It was sound, gap sound. We did a lot of stuff in terms of just letting our kids know, this is your gap, this is your responsibility, this is your fit, this is your help. Those are the things I liked about it. And, it was really easy to kind of implement, kind of going through. FYI, I always put this is not a defense at Roosevelt, though we have some aspects of our spot drops with our cover three stuff. But this was stuff that, if I was getting back into running defense again, I'd probably lean towards this style. All right, so we're going to go through basically, the cover two aspects, the cover three aspects, and then man free. That's kind of the base bulk of the package. There's over fronts, there's under fronts. We're going to kind of focus more on the over front stuff here because we could go on for a few hours just going through the whole playbook that I had and that I've kept for the last few years. And really it wasn't until digging through some old hard drives that I came across. I'm like, oh, hey, this might be a good topic. So I reached out to Justin and here we are. But when you're looking at the cover two stuff, the big thing is that the corners are allowed to be physical. Your safeties are deep, staying on top of everything. And you'll see in some of the clips, I ended up pulling up clips from the Cowboys, the Jaguars, who are our traditional Tampa style zone teams. They're very deep. Some of these guys are 20 yards deep. So the speed's different. 4-man rush, keep everything in front and rally and tackle. In the Tampa defense, the middle linebacker is going to shuffle out, and he's going to key things thinking pass first. So, actually the attitude we said is you want to be thinking it's a draw play first. So you're going to ease out, oh, it's run and rally. But when we're playing our cover three and our man-free variations, that's our 8-man box. We're playing the run. We're loading up. Here we go. Big thing in cover three is we want to reroute seams. Make sure that we're being very physical with those types of routes. All the zone stuff is QB key, and this is probably the biggest difference. When you talk about QB key, everything's based on what's the quarterback looking at. Is he looking left, looking right? And so it's not a pattern match style. I actually got into a conversation, and what about two read versus zone, and can we read the routes? And you're teaching two different things. And if you're trying to tell kids, hey, we got to keep our eyes on the quarterback, but they're looking at 10 different things, then they're not going to be as disciplined in breaking off the quarterback. So, again, it comes back to, your comfort level. If you're, and I probably started out more of a pattern match guy my first couple of years until I kind of got into this. And not to say that pattern match isn't good or bad. It's just sometimes it depends on what fits your kids. Sometimes, we had this problem this year. We were a pattern match man cover team. And our kids couldn't determine the difference between pattern match zone and man, and they were chasing everything. So when we went through it, we're like, we need to have it completely different. So we're a man team, and we're going to be a spot drop cover three team. So that was at least an aspect that we brought to the table from kind of this style, just to help our kids out in terms of determining the differences with our zone and man concepts. The other thing is the breaks are all off the QB hand off the ball. All right. So if that quarterback's dropping back and he starts looking, we're going to melt our zones. So guys will start creeping. As soon as that hand comes off the ball, it's a hair trigger break. And so I pulled some kind of being on that hair trigger. And then the other thing about the package too is it's built-in disguises. All right, just based on the calls, whether we're going, our man free to cover 3, everything's going to look the same. And then, cover 2, we can spin up, spin out, jockey safeties in terms of, showing a 3, cover 3 look, working to 2, or rolling from 2, working into 3. So there's some things that are already built in where you don't have to really create disguise. It's kind of already inherent. All right, so the cover 3 and man free, that's gap responsible. That's our 8-man box. Cover 2 in the run game, the linebackers have to be a 2-gap player. So we always use a technique we call rope-a-dope, and I'll show that in one of the drawings here and how we work that in terms of peel a double team off to single up a lineman, and then he falls back into the opposite gap because there's not enough bodies to fill gaps in 2-back run. And then there's always going to be late alley help from the corner or from the safety, or corner as the force because we're out in space. So there are some elements where you can have some 8-man box and cover 2, but and we want to make sure we bounce it to them. All right, so the other interesting thing about this is that how we adjust to motions. If we were in base personnel, 3 linebackers, we're just bumping and adjusting, sliding things in our coverage, or our safeties are spinning. Simple. But when we got into our nickel packages, which is where we predominantly worked out of just based on seeing 10 and 11 personnel stuff, our nickel was going to travel with his man, whether it was zone or man. He was going to travel. And because the nickel would travel, that means our linebackers would have to flip. Sounds like a lot of movement for one guy, but if you rep it out, it really becomes seamless. I know I had a little trouble kind of adjusting to that, thinking, hey, we're moving 3 when one guy moves. But the other side of that is that our nickels are always going to be space guys. They're not going to be in the box because our nickel was a 3rd corner. So it wasn't a safety. He was a 3rd corner because we were going to cover man. He was going to play in space. That's where we needed him. Our linebackers would flip because our middle runner was our middle runner. That's what he was trained to do. And then our outside backer was our outside backer. That's what he was trained to do. So that where you can keep backers and not flip them if you have guys that are basically clones of each other, same type of body type, and they understand that. I did adjust that from time to time. But the big thing is having that nickel run with that because the nickel's always going to be the nickel doing what he's supposed to do. All right? And the middle runner is always the middle runner. The nickel guy's not a box guy. And then big thing with, especially in the cover 2 style defense, got to have 4 guys who can rush. I made the mistake one year coaching at a place where we didn't have really great pass rushers. But I really wanted to do this, and it hurt us because we could cover guys, but next thing you know, you're covering for 4-5 seconds, and we're not at the quarterback. You're just going to get picked apart. So again, you got to have the ability to rush for those 4. All right, so I talked about this earlier: zone versus matchup zone. It's difficult to teach a pattern read style concept and also be a QB spot drop concept. Just in my opinion, I think it's just very difficult. If you're trying to tell safeties to read 2-1 rather than pedal off and let the quarterback dictate it, those are 2 different things. So again, you got to find what you're comfortable teaching and what works for you. And, if you have guys that are smart enough that they can do both, hey, great. But it also takes a lot of teaching time, and finding that time to do that might not be conducive to being as efficient as you want with your practices. And then it comes down to finding what your kids can do well. I've done both pattern read. I've done, spot drops, and it's determining what helps them play fast. All right, so this is just a picture of base. Of how we work our alignments. So close 0, open 0. So close is where we always make our string call. Open is away. And this is how our linebackers would align: stack A, stack B, stack C. So if we said stack, toes at 5, A gap, B gap, C gap. All right. And if we had a number in there, 20, 30, 40, or what we called tan, those were just basically like the alignments that our D line would be in. And then a loose 9 was our buck backer, who would be up on the line of scrimmage on the tight end. And then if we had a choke call, that was just a alignment where we put our guy who was man coverage on the tight end, inside leverage at the line of scrimmage, C gap player. So that's how we determine our alignments for our guys. And then for our alignments for guys in space, whether it was a backer or a safety or a nickel, he would be a hip, a sky, a seam, or a walk. So we just basically gave them, hey, you're a walk. A walk is a 1x4. You're a seam, split the difference. You're a sky, 3x4. You're a hip, 1x3. So we try to take a little bit of the gray area in terms of telling our guys where to align and give that to them in their playbook, saying, hey, we're calling this is where you're at. And if we need to make a game plan adjustment, versus particular sets, we can also tell them, hey, seam it, walk it, whatever you need to do. So starting out, when we installed this, it was always going to be a overzone Y was our install package. I'm going to go over it briefly, and I'm going to focus more on the over 8 because that's more of the clips that I had that illustrates some of the stuff. But when we talk about our fronts, our over front, we're always going to be a 6 technique, a 3, a 1, and a 5. Right. The big thing with the 6, it keeps the safety who's going to be rolling down in our overzone Y package. So basically, it's a strong safety roll cover 3. It's going to keep him outside the box, D-gap player, and then keep all the linebackers in the box. The other thing I liked about our 6 technique is it was always a mindset of a domination mindset, especially even, you're talking 15 years ago, tight ends were being flexed out more. You didn't have a lot of great inline blockers. And so the mentality was our DN was going to be better than your tight end. We're going to put him head up on the tight end and just make a bad day for him, and just be physical, beat him up, and really try to wreak havoc in the run game. So that was at least the mindset there. The other front that we play, and I'll get into that a little bit, is our Omaha front. And that's just basically now our 9 front. We got a 9 technique in, pass type stuff. We also will play that more in our over 8 and all the straight Y. So usually that's how we install. I'm going to briefly just kind of go through our alignments here. D-gap align. So you'll see on here you'll see D7. So it means he's going to be D-gap aligned 7 yards. C7, he'd be C-gap aligned 7 yards. So again, we're trying to be as descriptive as possible how we want to get our guys to align. And then when it comes to our run fits, we had a hammer player, which is our force player. Our lever player, which is similar to a hammer player, he's going to be outside the fit or outside pullers or H's, but it's always going to occur inside the box. So anything inside, if it's a C gap in terms of inside the tight end or B gap, he's going to fit inside of there. And then the spill player was always going to be an inside fit on a puller or an H. So guys would know, hey, I'm a hammer guy because I'm the force. I'm outside of everything when I'm outside the box. Lever and spill, linebackers or safeties determining, hey, I'm going to spill this guy. I'm going to be inside fit, or I'm going to be a lever guy. I'm going to be outside the fit. So again, that's how we kind of, and you guys will be able to go through and rewatch this later on your huddle, so you can kind of see how the rules go, how we align our guys up, and then the detail out in terms of the pass responsibilities here as far as their zone cover 3 stuff. All right, again, just highlighting that 6 technique of the over. So this is just a quick page on our adjustments and how we adjust to motions. So here it's just a bump and adjust situation. All right, he motions across, corner's got to come down. Safety's going to work from a sky back to a C7. All right, he's going to walk out. So right now we've gained the corner, and then we have the safety out here. He's still going to bail. He's still going to come down in terms of the run fits. It's just a matter of disguising our alignments and how we work that. One thing to note here is that anytime we get a one-back set, we always made a seam alert call. All right, and the big thing on seam alert is telling everybody, hey, we've got spread out guys. He's going to reroute number 2. All right, the big thing is he wants to reroute. Corner's going to midpoint, but the free safety is always going to lean to the nickel, or in this case, the buck linebacker side, because we'll get the reroute to help him out. And the strong safety is going to always work a carry. So if he gets too vertical here, he is going to carry. And basically he's going to open up and have vision on outside leverage on the carry. So if we get a back flat late, he'll pop off. QB key, if the quarterback's looking this way, the safety is going to lean back, but he will carry in case we get 4 verticals. To me, that was a technique that once I kind of saw that and learned that, I got a lot more comfortable with cover 3, where early in my years was my philosophy on cover 3 was great against everything, stops nothing. So that really changed my mindset in terms of how we taught that and helped us in terms of being able to play 4 verticals and cover 3, having a 4-man box and stuff. All right, so I'm just go right here. So this is our over 8, and our over 8 stuff basically is, I'll get this out of my way here. Our over 8 is the opposite of our over zone Y. It's a weak roll. So now we're going to work the free safety down away from the tight end. So now in this case, we play an over front with our Omaha front with our 9 technique. I got our backer in the box, so he'll be a lever player. He'll be a spill player, all right? He'll be a gap player. Free safety's here. And then opposite, he'd be a potential lever player, spill player, backside player. So that's the biggest difference here in terms of the difference with our over zone Y and our over 8. And I have more clips of the over 8 stuff from what I was able to pull. But same philosophy, we're just changing who's rolling down. Again, you'll be able to go through the different rules that are illustrated here after. Again, we have the adjustments. The one thing I do like about over 8 is that when there is motion, we have a free safety that's going to roll instead of our linebacker coming out of the box. So you keep your box backers doing what they do, being box backers. And then your safety can be out in space. The one advantage, at least with over zone Y, is that I did like playing the 6 technique front. So again, it comes down to what you like, what you fit, what your preferences are. I've worked for guys that they prefer the 9 technique over everything. So that's what we did. So this would be our adjustment. But same rules apply in terms of we're going to reroute here. And now the will linebacker has to be the carry player in cover 3. All right. So knowing that we're just going to get a reroute here, we got a carry here, the strong safety can still lean to the 2 receiver side and then work off his QB key to help out on 4 verticals just in case. All right, so here's some run fits and kind of illustrating our lever spill concepts. So here, because it's inside the box, Buck is going to spill, he's going to lever, all right? He's going to be inside. So lever is really just another word for force player inside the box. A-gap run through, so he gets flow here. We know we got gaps taken out. If he has a window right here, he's going to take this thing. And sometimes you'll see this guy gets a run through, almost looks like he's blitzing the gap. And if guys get really good at just seeing this window, this is a great opportunity for guys to make some big plays. And then the will is a C-gap runner. Again, open window, closed window concepts apply as far as reads go. So if this was open, he can take it and run off the backside. If it's closed off because of the way the linemen are playing it, he can scrape and just try to find that next open window. All right. So here, the way we called our plays, Mary was, basically an ISO to the middle linebacker. Betty was to the buck. We just how I was taught and how we named our plays. That's just kind of, so that's why they're named as they were. I don't even think they call it ISO anymore. If you look at the stretch play here, because it's a scrape outside now and it's outside the box, he's going to be the hammer player, turn everything back in. Now he's got to find the new gap off the puller, so they're just working next available gap. And then here now, because we were a bend and chase team, he wants to basically rope a dope. He's going to come here, pull the tackle off, fall in behind, play boot, play quarterback, whatever it is, and bend it. You can flip this, have him be the quarterback player, and have him just basically be a B-gap runner. However you want to do it, you can change it up. You can have calls to change it up. Basically, it just comes down to what you feel comfortable doing with your personnel. So again, this just illustrates how we work our run fits. The other things guys do too, and sometimes it's a preference. You'll see this backer here. He might go spill and lets this linebacker scrape. You got a linebacker with speed, and you want to, or I should say this Mike would spill and the buck would scrape because we always want him the force player. So working the lever and spill, you can change up those responsibilities. And again, it comes back to, your comfort level. I've done it both ways as well, where a player in this situation, might spill this, the Mike would spill this, so this buck could work over the top. And a lot of times on this double team, this guy's going to pick him off, but if he works over the top, it helps him keep him clean. So again, it comes down to different things that you see that help your team. All right, so this is an example here of over 8. So we got our hammer player, which is going to be the safety here. We got our levered spill players here, and then this is our lever hammer player here. He's bonus right now. He's a 3rd player, so he'll scoot out, and then he's just an alley player, second contain. This is the call side because you'll see at least the tight. This is the 9 and the 3, and then we've got our 2-eye and our 5. Actually, it would be a 7 technique on the tight end. going on to the tight angle here now. So we're going to get a pirate stunt in this situation. And the pirate stunt basically is a very common stunt you'll see with a lot of teams that run, the Tampa style stuff, just trying to wreak havoc here. If they have a corner that's going to be an alley player as well, it helps kind of clean the read up, because if he chases, he sees it's blocking, I can be an extra hat in the box. So these guys are going to stunt cross face. He's a D gap squeeze player, so he's going to squeeze down that D gap and make sure that there's nothing coming against the grain. And then we've got our lever, spill, run through guy. Now, if they know there's a pirate going on here, they should be fairly clean. And these two backers get pretty clean right here. He does a great job setting this edge. And we get the bonus hat that's just right there. The big thing with a D-gap squeeze player, and sometimes you're kind of left like, I'm not doing, right to the line of scrimmage and sit on that D-gap. Quarterback boot, tight end delay block, something just cut back, whatever it is, we want him here. We've got guys over here doing their job. Trust them to do their job, because if they do, you might get some work coming at your way. But if you decide to go get overzealous and I'm going to go start running this way, and all of a sudden he cuts back, all right, that's not a good situation. So again, it's very gap responsible, almost like an option defensive mindset. Hey, just keep your responsibilities, defend your gap, do it aggressively, and good things will happen. All right, so here's another example of the run fit here. So now we got a safety, looks more like a nickel, backer. So hammer, lever, spill, D-gap squeeze. Now, I paused it here because you'll have smaller guys, DB safeties, that have to challenge an offensive lineman or puller. And you'll see this guy does a great job. And one of the coaching points we always told those guys is saw off the outside leg. So if you're the hammer player and I've got a puller coming at me, or Big H or whoever it is, I want to saw off the outside leg, almost like you're just chopping him down. Because if you try to go take him on half a man, a smaller guy's going to get thrown out of the bar. All right. And, he could be a strong weight room guy, but it's just physics. I mean, you got a 250-pound guy versus a 150-pound guy. It's just not going to work. So you got to think more of a torpedo mentality and sawing off that outside leg. And you'll see this guy does a great job just being an athlete in space, forcing the issue where this H is blocking air. Linebacker does a great job doing what he's taught to do in terms of challenging this block, working over the top. Boom, gets that arm free. Now we got bodies on the ball. But again, we weren't going to be overzealous and thinking, all right, hey, you're out there, just got to, punch him with an arm and set the edge. That's not realistic for a smaller player, but when you start chopping down those bigger guys, those guys start thinking in their head, oh man, that guy's, my knees, I got to protect my knees. They're going to start walking on eggshells and tiptoeing through there. All right, so let them be aggressive and taking the edge. It's going to force a cutback, get these guys where they need to be. You can see how he's working his D-gap squeeze, and they're good to go. All right, so going in, that was basically our base cover 3 defense. Now, that was just base personnel, 3 linebackers, 4 down linemen. Nickel 86 is now basically our same cover 3 defense with nickel personnel. All right. So when we call 6, we're rolling to the passing strength. Strong safety is going to roll down. When we call 8, we're going to roll away from the passing strength. That's the free safety. So our strong safety was always going to the tight end as far as alignments go, and passing strength. So if we were in pro, to the tight end. If we were in spread defense here, we got 3 receivers to the left, he'll be the left. And here we got 2 quick receivers to the right. So that's how they switch. And you'll see the disguise that works out when we go to our one plug stuff. But it allows our linebackers to be here in the box, to do the run. He rolls down to the edge. He's got his cover man here. and we're one back, one gap. So we got that one back mentality. But as far as drops go, right, they're doing the same thing. They're going to spot drop. You curl flat, hook, hook. Same thing. Nothing changes except our personnel. Now, the interesting thing here is, again, when we talk about the motion of the nickel's going to travel with his guy because we want to keep him with that responsibility. And this is going to play into our man stuff as well. Speed on speed. You see the linebackers are flipping, the Will and the Mike. Now, again, if you have clones of players with the same type of body type, same speed, same mentality, they understand the nuances of that, you don't have to flip them, all right? So it comes down to, again, comfort level. If you rep it enough, it's really not an issue. But again, sometimes kids just, conceptually can't understand that, and they have to, you have to adjust as far as a coach goes. But we have the same rules with the seam alert. So if we've got any sort of 2x2 look, we want to make sure we reroute, and our free safety is going to lean towards that nickel, with the safety having to carry anything vertical by the tight end, all right? We always work the tight end vertical carry because it was a little easier as far as that was the guy that we felt we could run with best. All right, so here we've got our nickel front here. We've got our safety rolled down. We got our nickel here, so we've got our 8. Again, you got the D gap squeezed by the safety. You can see how he's just sprinting right to that line of scrimmage to take that away, and then he actually gets in on the play. So that's a great job by that safety getting to where he needs to. Now, this guy doing a great job getting off the block? No, but the end does a great job setting the edge, forcing the cutback, so we're okay. But a lot of times, and I would see this with younger players, you'd see this guy, he sees play going this way, he wants to take this path, like he's going to help on a big run. Trust that these guys are doing their job, because now he gets in on the play, gets a tackle for a loss or half a tackle. D-gap squeeze. One back, one gap. So here's his gap, here's his gap. It's that simple. If he gets reached, I'll go to the next gap. That type of mentality. So it really helps these guys play faster. I got one gap. That's part of the reason why I also like playing this guy inside, head up on the tight end. So here's an example of coverage. So now this situation, this is actually cover 8. So instead of rolling a safety down on number 3 here, they rolled him weak over here. This is Gronkowski. Here's their tailback here. So essentially it might have been a bit of a matchup issue in terms of if this guy runs a wheel, he's got to run with 3-2 through the zone in this situation here. The other thing you'll notice too is the drop by the nickel here, all right? And this is a drop you'll see a lot with some of these teams that run this cover 3 and how he's going to open up. Butt's going to be the sideline, and he's going to open up with vision to the inside. And a lot of that is just, again, it comes back to the mentality of QB key. He doesn't need to work his vision out here because he's not going to man match, all right? He's just going to open up and read that quarterback. Where is he throwing it? All right? And here's an example, again, of a hair trigger on the top of the drop. So, again, you see the drop here by the nickel. Turn up, open up, run. Get to that area. You'll see this better on the tight. But this hook backer starts dropping, and he starts melting right away on the quarterback's eyes, and you can see him hitch. Uh-oh, I can't throw that, because he makes a hard break to take Gronk away there, and now the pressure takes over, throws it away. So here's the tight angle. So it's this backer here, all right? In this situation, they made an underfront call rather than overfront, and partly because gap. Get these linebackers playing their run gaps. It's a lot easier. You got a guy down here who he might be a nickel, might be a safety, not used to being in the box. You got your nickel out there. So again, they're just matching their front to, responsibilities and what guys do best. So right now, top of the drop, He sees eyes, he just starts melting his own. Hands off the ball, he is ready to break. All right, hands coming off, he's driving. Quarterback eats it. All right, tight window, not going to throw it. And that's the thing. These guys are going to be hair triggers. When they break, when that quarterback does that, those linebackers, those nickels, those safeties, they did their job. Now it's up to these 4 guys to make sure they track them down. We can't cover in space forever. And when you have a quarterback that looks one way, pumps, they break, and all of a sudden he pumps against the grain and throws it over here, that's on these 4. They didn't get the pressure. They didn't keep the quarterback from going to a third read. He wanted it here. He didn't have it here. He eats it. Now he's got to run and go. If you have a mobile quarterback, that could create some issues. Not so mobile quarterback, you got a chance to run him down. But again, it still comes down to the D-line helping you out to make the quarterback not get to a third progression in his reads. So here's an example of 6. Safety rolls down here. Here's our nickel. Here's our 2 backers, 3 by 1. All right. The thing with zone, and I think you can get away with this with slower corners. Guys that, Richard Sherman's made a career of being one of the best corners in the NFL, and he's not the fastest corner in the world. I mean, he didn't run a great 40 time at the combine and stuff, but extremely smart. And the other thing he does very well is he transitions. And I think that's something that sometimes coaches get lost at. Like, oh, he only runs a 4.6. But, I've seen guys who run a 4.6 who can't transition from a back pedal to a break or a back pedal to a sprint. And it looks like they're just being slow and getting beat by with speed. So transitions are, even with linebackers and your safeties, transitions are crucial. Going from a pedal to a break, going from an open crossover run to breaking back downhill from what you get off the QB key. So it's critical to really understand if your guy has good transitions but maybe not great speed, that's a guy that could be useful in a zone defense, because if he's smart and can go through those opportunities and get a good beat on a quarterback's eyes, and he's got quick feet, you can make a lot of hay with that. So when you look at your guys, hey, he could transition well, he's not a speed guy. Well, don't put him in a position where he's got to cover a guy who might be faster than him in man situations or a man match. Okay, so it allows you an opportunity to evaluate what your guys can do well and try to find something that fits them. All right, so here he makes a break, and this is what I love about it too. It's a vice tackle with him in the sideline. So, he's basically, corner's going to, bail into his third. He's the flat defender, so you got to keep, things inside of him. But as it widens out, he's got the sideline as an extra defender. This is where the turnovers, the tackles, and limiting extra yard plays come in with this style of zone defense. I think, for a number of years when Lovie Smith was at the Bears, and the Bears were always in the top 5 in takeaways, and certainly Peanut Tillman was part of that. But a lot of it was those guys were just hawking onto the ball because there's 3-4 guys that were there right after throw. But what I like is the transition of the feet. The linebacker's dropping, sees it. Now he closes, and you can see how much ground he's making while the ball's in the air. Ball's thrown. Now it's being caught. Now he's within 4 yards, and he's got a good angle with the sideline as an extra defender. He's able to make a good tackle. And that's the other side of things, is that if you can make up ground while the ball is in the air, that's going to make you look like a better tackling team because there's less space to have a mistake occur. And that's another factor that I really like about the defense, is that it gives you an opportunity to have guys be able to vice tackle, and everybody talks about tackling and, hey, we got to tackle better. And sometimes, athlete versus athlete, if you got a lesser athlete versus a great athlete, you're going to lose that battle. But if you limit the space that great athlete has to make a move, you close the gap in having your ability to close out on those plays. So it comes back to, what can we do to put our kids in a position to be able to execute better? Sometimes you just can't make them physically more athletic or faster, but we can make them smarter. We can make them take efficient angles, and his eyes can be as quick as anybody. I can make up ground when the ball's in the air. And that's part of it too. Quarterback's looking. And as soon as he does that, corners should be rallying, linebackers are breaking. We got guys running to the ball. So here's an example, and this is just general QB key. This is an empty set, cover 3, but you can see what this linebacker does here. I'll let it play fast. I'm sorry. I mean, he was making up ground before that ball was even thrown. You'll be able to better view on the tight. So right now he's looking, and he knows. And part of that, you'll get to a point where you just trust, yeah, that's where he's going to go. I mean, to the point he could probably pick that. He makes a decision, I'm going to tackle that guy. And, yeah, does he catch it? But it's a bang, bang tackle. All right, 0 yards after the catch. And that's where if kids get real good at just, hey, I'm reading that. And even here, this guy's staring his threat down the whole time. You can see that break by that linebacker. He was breaking before it was thrown. He's breaking right now hard, and that ball's not even in the air. He knows. So those are the things I really like about it, and how we wanted to drill out and teach our guys to basically look like we were playing faster than maybe we really were. All right, so now we got into our man concept here. This is our nickel 1 plug. And you can see 1 plug looks exactly like 8 and 6. All right, the role's the same. All right, 8 or 6. He's covering the tight end. He's covering the tight end. So now it gives us just built-in disguise. Hey, are they 8? Are they 6? Are they 1 plug? Everything looks the same. Leverage is going to be the same across the board. All right, we're going to be outside leverage on these guys. Why? Because we've got a low hole plugger and we got a deep hole guy. So we're okay as far as in-breaking routes. We'll ride the hip, push it to a plugger guy. It'll be a bang-bang play, or that linebacker or that safety can knock the ball away based on where it's thrown. All right, we have our alignments here. All right, we've got our responsibilities here. We always called it Reggie when the linebackers were sharing the backer. That's just how I learned it. It's just 2 guys on 1. Back goes this way, he's low hole. Back goes this way, he's low hole. Again, just aligning up versus various different fronts. You guys can peek at that a little later. Oop, let me go back here. So we have 1 plug. Again, corners are going to always travel with the motion. All right, so we'll go corners over on this, and partly because our safeties are covering tight ends, keeps them in the run fit. That's what they usually do. Corners, speed on speed. Let's keep them where they need to be. In this case, they get to a bunch set, so we have our point guy and 2 guys are off. Big thing in man coverage that we always harped on is these guys in any sort of bunches or stacks, they have to be at different levels. All right, cannot be at the same level, just so we don't get rubbed. Motions across. In man, safety can come right down, and he can be in a loose 9. He could be in a sky. This is an ability alignment. Hey, I could play this guy. He's more of a receiver type. I can be physical with him. Hey, he's really big and physical. I'm going to give myself some space. Run fits are the same, though. Same as 86. 1 back, 1 gap. So, again, nothing changes as far as run fits go. We're just playing more man concept here. Now we're going to get on routes right now. So really, this kind of takes away the need to have the matchup zone because we're just playing man anyway. So we're just going to declare it, line it. We have our disguise with the 8 or the 6, and now we can really build into things and another discussion altogether when you start adding in the various pressure packages that all build in and look the same. Hey, are they running, a Mike blitz, a Will blitz? Are they running a Peel blitz? All sorts of things that all look like the other thing. So a couple things you could do with your 1 plug coverage. So you have your low hole. You can play the crosser, or you can play the QB based on game plan. All right, so you can do a lot of different things in here. In this particular game, you can see what the Cowboys did. Russell Wilson was an athletic guy. He was a scrambler. So instead of having him play low hole crossers, they're saying, hey, you're going to spy this guy. He gets out of contain, you're gone. Matched up man. They're man across the board. They got their lineman getting ready to go. And you can see on the pressure, he goes and now, again, forces the issue. All right. And again, it's a game plan thing of what you want to do with that low hole guy. And you can see he's just patient, patient, patient. And he knew right away, oh, I know where he's going to scramble. And part of that, too, is in game plans, hey, likes to scramble to his right or scramble A gap, whatever your game plan dictates. But he was coming on him right now and helped eliminate a lot of that space where he can make that escape. So now here's an example of this linebacker taking away the read of the slant right here. Again, QB key, it's what he's been trained to do. Looking, melting, break. I can't throw. Quarterback eats it. You'll see it better on this tight. Right? I mean, he saw him right in his vision. Took it away. Can't throw that. And then this is an example of the linebacker here rerouting a low hole crosser. Now, the big thing when you're rerouting low hole crossers as they drag across the middle, he's got to step in front. Make that guy go behind or run square into you. Because if you reroute them and then you stay high, you're going to knock off one of your own teammates. He does a good job of stepping up in front. Right there. Knocks him off, knocks him back towards the line of scrimmage. And you'll see on the tight, it disrupts the throw. Right there. And then now he's not ready to catch the ball. So let's say you have a middle linebacker. Not the best mover in the world, and depending on how you set it up, you can just make him your low hole guy. And I've been around a couple of guys that they did a great job of just knocking guys that are crossing in front of people because they weren't going to be able to run with the man-to-man or run with a tailback man-to-man. So it's something where you can actually declare a guy pre-snap and just do what linebackers do, hit things. And that's one of the things I really liked about at least a plug defense is, hey, you know what, middle linebacker, you play in the box, you don't move all that well. Let's just have you knock the crap out of somebody. All right, so now we've got into our cover two stuff. All right, over two is basically just, cover two with, base linebacker personnel. Nickel over two is just nickel personnel, same thing. So we're just replacing a, linebacker, run type guy with a pass type guy. You'll see, again, the alignments that we'll have versus various formations. The big thing that we go through when we're talking with these guys is what their responsibilities are. So here, looking at the safety, the corner, his responsibility, reroute, disrupt, or release the number one, all right? Post reroute, determine the tools, or determine departure tools. So departure tools are basically how he's going to drop. Is he going to hinge, exit, or man up, with a burst? So we'll give him these different tools. A hinge basically, if he's just going to open up, pass the sideline, get vertical. Exit will be on a reroute, on an in-breaking route. He's going to, shuffle in, reroute, and as he goes away, he's going to exit now back to the sideline and then get vertical. Man could be just a press situation, bang and go. And then we got to determine if it's a run situation to us, got to make sure we get to a force situation. So we're going to give them different tools as far as what that corner is responsible to do. Their base alignment is going to be 4 yards off, head up, and then we can press them or we can play off, and now we can start working some different disguises just based on alignments. So that's a big thing. Safeties here, landmark QB key, and again, responsibilities, plus 3 yards off the hash. Boundary, if they're to the boundary, 4 yards off the hash. QB is going to basically determine their angles, 90, 45, 135. So just basic geometry as far as the angles of attack. Break flat 90, down at 45, or back at 135, towards, that fade route. Again, same thing with our motion stuff. Nickel's going to run, linebacker's got to flip. Some other general alignments. If we get a two tight end look, We're going to make a gust check, which basically just tells us to go 2-eye and a 7. All right, so run fit wise, again, he's going to look at it as a draw first. So he's going to shuffle out, and then come late. So he's not going to be a fast fill guy for the most part. Depending on their ability to key and read, maybe it works out that way. But essentially, he wants to think he's a pass player first. And that's why they're calling it, but you will get some run plays. Down here is what I'm talking about, where we're basically got to think about it as we've got 7 men in the box, but they've got an extra hat in here. So what do we have this backer do? We have him come like he's going to fit right here, peel the center off the block of the nose to help the nose come off clean, and then he's going to fall back into the B in case there's a cutback. So this is what we would call a rope-a-dope. So this is a unique technique, and something we practice. But again, we didn't want to be in a situation where we're playing a ton of cover 2 against run, but it does happen. So we just gave him some tools to prepare in terms of how to respond to that. All right, so here we got some cover 2 run fits here. So in this situation, he's basically the force player. So you can see by alignment, he's playing off. He's got vision in. They decide to go block the safety. He comes off and sets the edge. Now you'll see on this angle here, they run a pirate stunt. Now, a lot of times when there's cover 2 called, especially, and you've got your corner here and this is the call side, they're going to run the pirate to get things to bounce to that corner, take away that extra inside gap. So you'll see a lot of teams that'll call over pirate 2, and that's just how they're going to defend the run and take away that 2-gap linebacker. You'll see with this stunt here, it takes away a lot of guys, keeps him clean, almost gets that linebacker clean. But now they get in a situation where they got 2 hats on the ball. Technically, this linebacker could have levered this thing or spilled it right to that corner, but just does a good job of just being an athlete. All right, same thing. Here we got over to pirate again. So they're going to pirate in here. He's going to come in on the run, and you'll see how these linebackers, they're scraping right now. So you'll see they get the stun here, cleans everything. These 2 guys are coming downhill clean, and they actually end up inside the puller. But where they end up, he beats this tackles block here just because he knows what his responsibility is, and he beats it with speed, and he just scrapes over the top as an unblocked defender. And again, that's just a way too. I mean, technically, go out here, spill in here, you're fine. He's bonus, all right? But they both go inside, and then he scrapes over the top tight, which is a really good fit, really good play, squares himself up. Now, the other way you can do this too is this linebacker, he could have just let him go, let him spill, and then he works over the top because I know I've got a force player coming here. So again, you could play that either way and you'd be fine instead of getting 2 guys inside the puller. So here's just an alley safety coming in late. Pirate cleans up gap issues. So now we're getting into some coverage. Open up the 3, shuffle out, and basically, if he gets an opportunity that he's got to run deep, he'll run deep. He still has his eyes on the QB, sees the QB throwing it short, rally, tackle. You'll see his open up, hips to the sideline. He's going to open up and run the rail. But essentially, this is what they want to do. We want to be able to get these guys covered deep, throw shallow, rally, and tackle. So this is just a pre-depth. So it's third and a country mile. So these guys are just going to line up at depth. And then it's just a matter of they're throwing a screen, rally, keep everything inside, make sure they don't get the first down, get off the field. Now, this is an issue with cover two. I put this in here for this reason. All right. And it's just the basic bender route. As this guy spots drops, if he gets too wide, it just creates a wide open seam here. You know, especially this safety is working to go deep. And right there, that's just a nice, easy window for a lot of quarterbacks. He gets too wide. The big thing is you want to sink, and as that quarterback's looking at you, you got to sink with an idea that I got to melt back to the inside because that he's going to run that bender. If he runs wide and breaks on a corner, that's a safety all the way, and you got the corner bailing. So we've got to do a better job of make sure we protecting that, and that's a big thing that I always harped on with our guys is playing that bender. Now here they're going to run the bender. And this guy does a great job of being underneath, and it's a tight window. All right, and with that tight window, you put air on the ball, and it gives a safety chance to get over the top and knock it down. You can see how tight that bad boy is, but the safety's right there, prevent the catch. And so this is really a thing that you want to make sure you get across in really any cover too, is that bender route. Sink underneath that right there. Make that throw tough. All right, so the other adjustment that we would have in our Tampa stuff is we play Tucson. And all Tucson is now is we're going to spot up, and instead of our middle linebacker being a deep middle runner, he's going to spot up on three. So if there's a check down, a spot route, anything shallow, he is going to play that thing. It's going to really look more like a two-man type idea. All right. The other thing is that anything vertical, these outside linebackers will carry vertical. So they'll carry a vertical route, take them to the safety to help take that away. So really it was a change-up. It's a big-time change-up for us, especially you'll get teams that will run spot routes just like that, especially with, tight ends like that. Take that away. And now we get a nice vice tackle. And that's a thing here too, all right? And this is, you're going to get this at your level. Guys are going to be good in space. They make you miss. Next guy missed, but you got more hats to the ball. A 3-yard gain becomes a 6-yard gain rather than a 15-yard gain. Just getting eyes and hats to break on the ball fast. So it helps eliminate a lot of those big plays. All right, and then the other changeup is a two-spy, which basically is this Tampa. Now you're taking one of these D linemen and dropping him into the hole to take away that spot route, and then letting everybody play this deep third. So here we get a reroute, run the rail. Basically, this guy takes a wide outside release, so he's just going to open up and hinge and go. You see the lineman dropping out, taking up the spot. Along this linebacker could take his controlled deep drop, takes away this bender. He's in a pretty good position with this bender. Quarterback now got to make a decision. What do I do with the ball? What do I do with the ball? Now guys can run after him. This is really how two spies should work. The next clip, you'll see what happens when it goes awry. So here they run the same thing, two spy, but now you've got this guy jumping the shallow, and this is Gronkowski. So, oops. If he runs deep, they take that away. They're in good position. We got two guys biting on this shallow guy, and that's not Gronkowski. That's Edelman. Edelman running across the middle. So again, even at the highest levels, guys make mistakes, but if guys execute what they needed to do, probably in a good position to take that away, maybe get the sack, those type of ideas. So that's my email. If you got any questions, D-line, special teams, talking ball, anything like that, this will be up on Justin's Google page. So if you want to take a look at some things and anything else that pops up, I don't know if we got any time, guys. Any questions? I'll feel free to answer. I wanted to basically go through the bulk of what we'd install because it can be very vast. I think my playbook was like 80 pages once it had got all said and done. But it's good stuff if you've got the ability to kind of figure out what your guys do well and what fits. And I've learned that this is great in some situations, but I've also learned that it's not great in some situations based on your personnel. So just making sure you match your personnel and what you're able to do.
Absolutely. Guys, if anybody has any questions, you can drop it in that chat right there. If not, if something comes up to you later on, obviously Coach has shared his Twitter, cell number, and email. If anybody has any follow-up stuff, and like Coach mentioned, Coach D-Line does and special teams as well, and does a tremendous job with the special team stuff, and has a ton of great stuff. He's done one presentation on it already that's worth checking out. But if you guys had any questions in regards to that scheme or drills, things of that nature, man, he's definitely want to check out for sure. But nobody has any questions, man. We'll wrap this one up. Obviously, we want to thank all the coaches for coming in here and just being willing to get better and learn. And of course, to Coach Lund, man, for taking the time out of his day to present to us and allow us to learn something new and get better. So appreciate that, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Justin, man. Love all the stuff you're doing, man. This is awesome.
Always a pleasure. We're going to get you back on and do another special teams one.
Anytime.
All right, Coach. Really appreciate it, man.